Picture a tense, high-stakes political summit.
Oh yeah, the delegates arriving from across the region.
Right, and they're bringing this list of just completely uncompromising demands. They're threatening coordinated hunger
And
strikes
loudly demanding a sovereign separatist province.
with strict border controls, yeah. So the newly appointed president takes the stage to address this brewing revolution and immediately starts chewing on a rose petal.
Which is, I mean, it's not your typical political maneuver.
Definitely not, because the president of this summit is a 7-year-old bunny named Goshi. And the revolutionaries threatening the uprising, they are 20 incredibly fluffy rabbits.
It completely shatters what you expect when you hear the phrase political conference.
Totally.
You brace yourself for this dry, tense negotiation, and instead you get a literal bunny eating a flower.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a piece of source material that manages to be bizarre, delightful, and, well, surprisingly insightful all at once.
Yeah, we're exploring a classic Urdu short story by the author Ram Lal,
It's titled All India Khargosh Conference.
which translates to the All India Rabbit Conference.
And, on its surface, this is just a very charming, kind of chaotic description of a children's pet party.
Right, but what makes it worth analyzing for you today is how the author uses that innocent setting to stage a mock political summit.
Exactly. It's this layered window into how children process the adult world.
And more importantly, how absurd adult political structures look when you just strip away their real-world consequences.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand why the political satire works, we really have to look at the environment where it takes place.
The story doesn't just start with politics.
Right. It starts as a pure, unadulterated celebration of childhood empathy. It is October 1st, precisely 5 p.m.
The golden hour for a birthday party.
Exactly. And the street outside this house is completely gridlocked. I mean, you have scooters, rickshaws, and cars pulling up one after another.
Which, if you think about it, is a logistical nightmare.
Oh, totally. Because there are a dozen kids arriving. The author actually lists them all out, which I love. It's Tiku, Tinu, Kuki, Minu, Aaku, Niru, Dabu, Pogi, Raju, Shishu, Baby, and Poli.
That is a full house.
And between them, they have coordinated the transportation of 20 rabbits across town.
I love the logistics of that. The parents must have lost their minds organizing rickshaws for 20 rabbits.
I can't even imagine. But they arrive, and they bring gifts, and we're not talking about a quick stop at the pet store.
No. The text details these massive radish leaves, carrots, fresh peas, greens.
Apples, grapes, bananas, and biscuits.
Right, and these aren't just thrown into a grocery sack.
Right.
They are packed in beautiful plastic bags, presented almost like high-end luxury items.
And you can't forget the gift tags. The kids have written the names of their rabbits on the gifts.
Those names are amazing. Lucky, Professor, Moonlight, Dicky, Woodwood.
Woodwood is my favorite.
It's so good. But those names are our first real clue into the psychology of the children. They are projecting complex identities onto these pets.
Right. To them, a rabbit isn't just an animal in a cage.
Exactly. It has a profession, a distinct personality, a title.
And the birthday boy, Goshi, is treated accordingly. He's placed on a diwan, which, for context, is a traditional South Asian backless sofa or daybed.
So he is physically elevated above the crowd.
Yep, lounging among a pile of roses, just occasionally chewing a petal, like royalty.
What's fascinating here is how meticulously Ramwal is building a world defined entirely by innocence and projection.
Yeah, all those sensory details.
Right, by detailing the massive radish leaves, the beautifully packed bags, and the carefully chosen names, he is showing us how children project human-level importance onto the things they love.
To these kids, a rabbit turning 7 isn't a trivial thing.
Not at all. It is a major milestone deserving of a grand celebration. It's like the Met Gala for pets.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy. Anyone in the neighborhood pet scene is there, just showing off.
And Poli, who is Goshi's owner, she even brings out a cake that is a structural marvel.
Oh, the cake. It's designed to look exactly like a patch of green grass on top.
Which the rabbits actually get to eat.
Right, with real delicious cake hidden underneath for the humans. 7 candles are lit, blown out to roaring applause.
It is just a highly structured ecosystem of perfect harmony.
And as a narrative device, you really have to establish that absolute perfection.
Yeah, the author is building a pristine bubble. If the baseline isn't perfect innocence, the introduction of cynicism or bureaucracy later on simply doesn't land.
The higher the pedestal you put this party on, the more jarring the disruption will be.
Which makes sense. Because nothing attracts a disruption quite like a room full of perfectly happy younger siblings.
Oh, 100%. That level of unbroken joy creates a vacuum.
And older siblings love nothing more than exploiting that vacuum.
Enter Poli's older brother, Baloo. The text explicitly describes him as notoriously mischievous.
And the reaction in the room is immediate terror.
Total panic. The kids freeze. They assume the absolute worst.
Right, that he is going to ruin the party, smash the grass cake, or steal the rabbits.
It's a dynamic everyone recognizes. The older teenager walks into the playroom, and you just assume someone is about to cry.
Yeah, but Baloo does something completely unexpected.
He doesn't knock over the cake.
No, instead he tells all the kids to line up against the wall.
Which is terrifying in its own right.
Right, and he formally declares that this gathering is no longer a birthday party. It is now the All-India Khargosh Conference.
And the purpose is to discuss the profound difficulties faced by rabbits.
He institutes a total paradigm shift. He takes their unstructured, empathetic play and forces it into a rigid framework.
He even appoints a leader.
Yeah. He looks at Goshi, notes that at 7 years old he is the eldest in the room, and logically concludes that Goshi must be the Sadr, or president of the conference.
He even tries to put a traditional flower garland around Goshi's neck to mark his new office.
Which Goshi, being a rabbit, promptly shakes right off his ears.
Of course. But, I have to stop and ask about Baloo's motivation here.
Okay, yeah.
Usually, the older brother just knocks over the cake. Why does Baloo choose to impose a highly bureaucratic political conference on a bunch of toddlers and bunnies?
I mean, it seems like a lot of work just to annoy some kids, right?
Exactly.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Baloo's actions actually make perfect sense. Think of Baloo as a localized software update for their playtime.
Oh, I like that.
He takes their basic operating system, which is just we love our pets and want to feed them, and he installs a highly complex, slightly buggy adult user interface on top of it.
A software update full of red tape.
Exactly. He introduces committees, presidents, and formal agendas.
But why?
Because he's at that transitional age where he is observing the adult world. He's likely watching parents argue about politics or seeing community leaders organize meetings, and he wants to wield that same authority.
So he's mimicking power.
Right. He's too old to just sit on the floor and feed carrots to a bunny, but he's too young to have any real power in the adult world.
That makes a lot of sense.
So by imposing adult bureaucracy on an innocent game, he gets to be the orchestrator of a serious grown-up event while still fundamentally finding a way to play with his younger sister and her friends.
He is weaponizing the aesthetic of maturity. Children notice that adults use rules, meetings, and formal language to control environments.
So Baloo is just testing out those tools in a low-stakes environment.
And the younger kids don't fight it. They actually lean in completely.
They're thrilled by it. The story notes they are overjoyed by the spectacle.
So Baloo reaches into his pocket and distributes slips of paper to the kids.
Right, telling them that these papers contain the official demands of the rabbits, and they must act as their political spokespeople.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because a political conference is nothing without a list of fiery demands.
And these kids absolutely deliver.
They really do. Niru steps up, standing behind her rabbit, who is named Professor.
Which is the perfect name for this demand.
Right. And she reads from Baloo's slip of paper. She argues that because rabbits are not provided with schools or colleges, they are being actively denied an education.
A profound injustice.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Therefore, they demand the fundamental right to gnaw and eat big books.
Just brilliant.
So they have a chance to consume the world's knowledge.
I mean, the child logic operating there is flawless.
Yeah.
If you cannot enter the institution of learning, you must physically digest the information.
It makes perfect sense. But then the demands escalate significantly. Meanie steps up to speak for her rabbit, Lucky.
And she demands that the Indian government issues special lottery tickets.
Yes. The funds from this lottery are to be used to establish a completely separate sovereign state just for rabbits.
To be called Khargosh Pradesh.
And the border laws for this new province, absolutely no dogs and no cats allowed under any circumstances.
Which is just good urban planning for rabbits.
Definitely. The only outsiders permitted to cross the border are small children and only for brief visits.
Notice the massive jump in rhetoric there.
It's huge.
We go from wanting to chew on a dictionary to demanding a separatist ethno-state funded by government lotteries.
Complete with strict immigration policies designed to keep out predatory species.
It's a huge escalation.
And then we get to the third major demand, read by Tiki on behalf of a rabbit named Doctor.
Right, the healthcare demands.
Kiki insists on separate healthcare infrastructure. The rabbits demand their own exclusive hospitals because going to regular vet clinics with other animals makes their sensitive noses burst from the terrible smell.
Which is very on brand for a rabbit.
True, but it's the threat attached to this demand that caught my attention.
Oh, the hunger strike.
Yeah. Tiki announces that if these separate hospitals are not built, the rabbits will initiate a full hunger strike.
No more grass and leaves.
They will completely stop eating until their demands are met. Now, I want to challenge this a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've gone from a sweet birthday party with grass-flavored cake to demanding sovereign states and threatening hunger strikes. Isn't there something a little cynical about an older kid teaching toddlers to use this incredibly aggressive, divisive political language?
That is a really sharp observation, and it would be deeply cynical if the story were endorsing those tactics as actual solutions.
But it's not.
No, Rumwall is doing the exact opposite. By putting these highly charged, real-world political ultimatums into the mouths of young children advocating for fluffy bunnies, he is actively stripping that language of its power.
How so?
Well, when you take the intense rhetoric of a separatist movement or a hunger strike
Yeah.
and apply it to a rabbit who just wants to avoid smelling a wet dog at the vet clinic.
It kind of highlights the absurdity.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
forces you to look at the language itself. Adult political structures are inherently built on self-importance, aggression, and posturing.
Right.
By projecting those heavy structures onto an environment of total innocence, the author creates a satire that doesn't attack a specific political party, but rather the mechanisms of politics.
So it deflates the ego of the political system.
Precisely. The children reading these demands don't understand the historical gravity of a hunger strike or border control.
To them, it's just a newly discovered cheat code to get what they want in a game.
Yes. They are mimicking the form of adult negotiations without any of the malice or real-world consequence.
It really highlights how bizarre our systems are when you remove the stakes. We use these intense negotiations, ultimatums, and threats to organize our societies.
And when a child parrots it back to us on behalf of a pet, it suddenly looks like a very elaborate, slightly ridiculous game of pretend.
And that is the brilliance of the satire. The kids aren't being cynical.
No, the adult world they are imitating is cynical. They are just trying to use the tools they see adults using to protect the things they love.
In this case, they're pets.
They've recognized that to be taken seriously in the adult world, you have to use aggressive, bureaucratic language.
Okay, so the demands have been laid out. The threat of a rabbit hunger strike is hanging heavily in the air.
The tension is palpable.
The rabbits want a sovereign state, encyclopedias to eat, and specialized healthcare. Every list of demands requires a response from the leadership.
Of course.
How does President Goshi, our 7-year-old bunny who is likely just thinking about taking a nap on his diwan, handle this brewing crisis?
Well, Goshi's owner, Polly, steps up to deliver the concluding presidential address on his behalf.
And it is a masterclass in political evasion.
It really is. It captures the very essence of a politician backed into a corner.
It is incredible. Polly reads, quote, "I have listened carefully to your demands. I agree with some things, I disagree with others, but I will consider them."
It's the ultimate non-answer.
It's brilliant. I agree with some, disagree with others, I'll think about it. It commits to absolutely nothing while maintaining total authority.
Right. He placates the angry delegates by promising to take their voice to the humans, cleverly reminding his constituents that humans are, in fact, their biggest friends.
He is effectively managing diplomatic alliances to buy time.
Exactly. But then he pivots to the most effective distraction technique available to any leader.
He points to the catering.
Yes. The speech concludes with Goshi noting that his highly sensitive nose tells him the human food is being laid out in the very next room.
He declares that everyone is hungry, the rabbits already have their gifts to eat, and the conference is adjourned.
He literally just says, "I smell food. Let's wrap this up."
And he signs off with this grand, sweeping rallying cry, Khargosh ekta zindabad.
Long live rabbit unity.
It's a brilliant diffusion of tension. The contrast between that high-minded, dramatic rhetoric of rabbit unity and the basic biological realization that dinner is ready is hilarious.
The grand political ideals are instantly abandoned the second their stomachs rumble.
And the kids totally drop the revolution. They abandon the conference immediately and happily run to the next room.
But as they leave, the author includes this small, critical detail.
Oh, I love this part.
The kids carefully close the doors and windows to the room where the rabbits are eating their grass and radish leaves.
They do this specifically to protect their pets from any wandering cats or dogs that might be outside.
And that detail is the emotional anchor of the entire narrative, because it proves that the software update Baloo installed didn't actually overwrite their core operating system.
The empathy is still there.
Exactly. Despite all the aggressive posturing, the bureaucratic demands, and the mock revolutionary speeches, their primary instinct is still protection and care.
They didn't lose themselves in the game of politics.
Right, when the game ended, they made sure their vulnerable pets were safe before they went to eat.
And then there's Baloo. The story ends with the supposed villain, the scary older brother, who initiated this whole intense political scenario, happily walking around handing out plates and spoons to the kids, laughing with them.
It turns out he never wanted to be a dictator. He just wanted to engage with them on a slightly more complex level.
He wanted to be part of the party.
But he needed a framework that didn't make him feel like a little kid sitting on the floor.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The politics we spent the story exploring was really just a sophisticated vehicle for connection.
It allowed Baloo to bond with his younger sibling and their friends.
And it allowed the kids to express how deeply they value their pets, just using a different vocabulary.
It's a very comforting realization. Beneath the complex, sometimes adversarial structures we build, whether it's a mock conference in a living room or real-world adult systems.
An underlying drive is often just a desire for safety, community, and a shared meal.
We covered a massive amount of ground here today.
We really did.
We started with a literal pile of massive radish leaves and a grass-topped cake, took a sharp detour through a mock political uprising orchestrated by a surprisingly creative teenager, and ended up analyzing the philosophical implications of a rabbit hunger strike.
It's a beautifully layered short story. It uses humor not just to make us laugh, but to explore the mechanics of how we interact with power.
Both as children trying to understand it and as adults trapped within it. So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, consider how often the structures we assume are deadly serious might just be elaborate play acting. When you watch children invent rules, argue over imaginary boundaries, or negotiate trades with their toys, you are watching the raw, unpolished version of adult bureaucracy.
The blueprints of it, basically.
Exactly. The next time you find yourself frustrated by endless meetings, red tape, or rigid protocols in your own life, it might help to picture the architects of those systems as kids, awkwardly trying to assert control over their environment.
It strips away a lot of the intimidation factor when you realize most bureaucracy is just an all-India Khargosh conference with higher stakes and slightly less cake. That makes the next mandatory office meeting sound a lot more entertaining. Thank you for walking through this incredibly fluffy, surprisingly intense world of rabbit politics with me.
It was an absolute pleasure.
And thank you to everyone listening for diving in with us. Keep questioning the rules of the game, and we'll catch you next time.